Here's the thing about advice. Take it wisely and take it from those who you believe actually know what they're talking about. I know it's not going to be easy, but here's how I do it. I don't care how much someone owns. I don't care how much someone has accomplished on paper. I care if someone is actually able to receive a message or energy without trying to fight it, right? We're all going to have some level of resistance to some level of new learning or new information, and it's not always easy to receive. But in doing so, that's what helps expands the mind. That's what helps create new imaginations, points, and specs and whatever else, and it helps us understand ourselves as well in the process because we're not trying to live in someone else's delusion. Again, I myself don't mind taking advice from people who might not have the best personality, right? They might not have the best persona. But if they are speaking straight facts, and I mean facts that align not just with logic because everyone else is saying so, but it's aligning with emotional and spiritual truth that we as the collective can see that's been here for ages, and we are understanding like yes, we all have a consciousness, right? If someone is speaking on a topic that I know is relevant to the soul, that piques my interest so much faster than topics of the human, because topics of the human are very fickle and we make stuff up as we go. Every single thing that we do is made up. Trends are made up, colors are made up, every right, because we say, oh well, animals are colorblind. Maybe to us, or maybe they see really vibrant colors that we don't see, right? We can do all these things where we say science says, but these are tools that we made to make sense for us to understand life. So this is why I always say, make sure you're listening to how you receive information. Make sure you're listening to who you're receiving it from, because that's where the wisdom comes in. The wisdom is not in trying to retain everything that someone says or all the information that comes into your realm. It's about knowing how to have discernment with that information and knowing how to figure out what is wisdom. Wisdom is always going to be something that has grace. Wisdom always has patience. Wisdom is not easy. Wisdom is not always going to make you feel like the most happy, fluffy person. It's not kind, but wisdom is the truth, right? And wisdom is saying, look, this thing happened, this thing occurred. You felt this way. Now you feel this way. You have a perception. It is what it is. You can choose to run your life with that perception, or you can go back and ask yourself why that perception was created and if you validate it or if you choose to give it truth. This is wisdom. This is all it is knowing how to work through your own thoughts and emotions along with that of others. Because we, again, I did not create the English language. So I am speaking another man's words, right? I am speaking another person's vibrations. I'm speaking another person's enunciation. But with that knowing, I then have the opportunity as the human ego and avatar to then align with my spirit, soul, and emotions to say, do we agree with this truth? As the contextual information states, is this our truth? As the word in the meaning states, is this our truth? Because this is why I am so hung up on words. In all the books that I do, I put vocabulary at the back because for me, words we know are spells. So I like to know what words mean, and I like to know the meaning and the context behind that word because it's going to not only be the foundation and the rock that's holding everything else together on top that I'm now applying my logic to. I also have to then apply my confidence to, because you can't just be speaking the truth with no confidence, because that's how people fall apart and then they start saying, well, I said that. Yeah, but you didn't say it with your chest. So that's why didn't nobody believe you. So you have to believe what you're saying as well. This is why truth matters. If you're speaking something that is not your truth, or if you're speaking something that has no balance of truth in it, then you're now making something up to make yourself feel better, and then you're going to go out and speak that as your truth, which gives you some sense of power. This is why when you meet other people, especially those who deem themselves intellectuals, I deem myself intellectual. I don't feel that I know every word. I don't think I know every subject, but I'm able to conceptualize and understand how to break concepts down and make them malleable, right? To me, that's an intellectual. I can conceptualize it, I can think it, I can feel it, I can speak it in a way that I'm giving it some type of voice to be a vehicle. That's all intellectuals do. Having smarts and adaptability, that's about knowing how to work all through the problems that come along with said thing that you're trying to be an expert at. But the main thing is knowing how to have discernment. So discernment is the first step to your wisdom. And wisdom is going to open up what we call intellect, because it's allowing you to ask questions. And it's allowing you to apply things to your life that are going to make sense later, now, or in the past. As long as you understand that you are using your best ability to say, hey, I'm listening to what I'm being told, but I'm also feeling what I'm being told. Because if I can feel what I'm being told and hear what I'm being told, then I can come to that practical conclusion or decision or answer that is going to make this situation in particular work. Because we can't keep taking information or wisdom and then keep slapping it on every situation, because that's not how it works. There are umbrella things that apply to all, but it doesn't mean that it's always going to make sense to all. And so when I try to go back and think about how I receive information and how I try to determine what matters, is again experience. If there's some level of experience behind it where you're painting a picture to let me know this is what the pain points were and this is what the reflection was and this is what the resolution was, I can see that in how someone speaks versus someone who just read a book and they're repeating it and they're trying to sound smart, right? It's so important to understand that experience is a level of intelligence, right? It doesn't matter if you are an expert in that subject. If you experience that thing to its fullest function, output, whatever, like surfing, let's say that. There are expert surfers, and then there's people who just naturally know how to get out there and balance their body and figure it out and ride the wave. Neither one is wrong. They're still gonna have to learn some technical skills, right? Because you can only rely on your good graces for so long, and the same thing with technical. Eventually you learn how to just relax and ride with the wave, because you can only be so technical before you make it mechanical, and then it ain't gonna work. So there's always finding a way to meet back in the middle. So understanding how knowledge works is understanding how information works. And if you understand that information is simply our relative experiences, our observational experiences, and our actual experiences, then we start making a bigger picture of what information is that makes it more what we call wisdom versus just repeated information, right? So this one was probably very confusing, but for those who make sense, it'll make sense to you. And the main thing I want you to remember is don't allow society to make you feel like what you think and feel is wrong just because they don't agree with you. If you know that you're speaking from a true place of experience and you're speaking from a true place of vulnerability and honesty, that's the truth. And that becomes wisdom, because someone else is going to find that side of the wall that you're on and they're going to say, yes, they're right. I'm experiencing this same thing this same way, not because they said it that way, but because I'm actually experiencing it this way, and there's no other way to experience it, right? Like that new movie, Damsel, where she finally gets to the point, spoiler alert, and she sees where all the other princesses went. That's the point. It doesn't matter who you are. That's the only way to get out. And once you get to that point, now what? So when you don't have real experience, you're just going to stay stuck wherever the last person left off at that checkpoint of what we call knowledge. So take the time to plunge into fear. Ask questions, go against the grain. It's okay. Again, we're not always going to agree with each other, but we have to understand how to speak to each other in a way that's listening beyond just the words, and understanding that there's contextual information that's actually emotions, but we just like to layer it as something else. Anyways, I hope this makes sense. Love ya. Mwah.